Before I, 17F, was born, before my parents met, my dad was happily married with a wife and 2 kids, one being my half-sister, 29F. One day my half-sister and her mom and my half-brother got into an accident while they were driving to the mom's parents' house. My half-sister was the only survivor. She was 8. My half-brother was 11, and their mom was in her 30s. Dad lost his wife and son. My half-sister lost her mom and brother. My half-sister took their deaths hard, and she lived with lots of survivor's guilt. I heard from cousins how the whole family knew she was taking it super hard, and that a lot of relatives spoke to Dad and said she needed help. Instead, he met my mom 2 years later and married her after a year of dating, and I was born almost a year later. I was named after my half-brother. I got the female variation of his name. That's got a lot of heaviness to it. My half-sister hates me and my mom. She hates Dad too, but in a different way. She sees us as replacing her mom and brother. I have some memories of her living with us and her being super distant and cold. But one that I always remembered really well was when I was 5, I told her I was named after our brother, and she lost her shit and she told me I was named after her brother. He was her brother only, not mine, and that he was her only sibling, and she wanted nothing to do with the replacements Dad found for her mom and brother, and if I ever said he was my brother again, she'd cut my tongue out. The memory was a little scarring because other than the threat, she was very clearly hysterical and broken. My little mind didn't fully register it, but when I look back, I can still see her face. My dad and half-sister fought a lot even when she grew up. They never lost all contact, but they didn't see each other a lot either. He'd want her to visit and to acknowledge me and Mom, and she'd refuse. She'd say he replaced them, and she couldn't forgive him for that, and fuck us for ruining her life and her family and thinking we could replace them. Dad would never shield me from it. Neither would Mom. And I have a lot of issues with my mom. Stuff she should never have ignored, but for the sake of the post I'll focus on Dad mostly. But an example of how my mom fucked up is my sister burst into tears during the wedding and accused Dad of replacing her mom and accused my mom of being happy to replace hers. Dad's relatives thought my half-sister looked heartbroken, but they went ahead with the wedding and acted like she inconvenienced them. And I don't know how anyone could get married after that. I know I'm 17, but I think it's fucked up. Anyway, whenever my half-sister was around, there was fighting. Her and Dad never got along well. We weren't invited to her wedding last year, and they fought about it. Then my dad found out she was pregnant, and she was keeping that from us, and it led to more fighting. In the years before all that, they'd argue, and he'd tell her she needed to stop acting like he did anything wrong by remarrying, and then there was a fight about how naming me after our half-brother disrespected him and her mom. You could pick up on the disdain she had for my mom and me. At Christmas, I dropped by my grandparents' house for a little bit, and she showed up to drop off some gifts for them. I asked her if I could ask her a couple of questions, and she said no, but she stopped and she waited, and so I asked her if she really felt like my mom, and I replaced her mom and brother, and whether she could ever see me differently. She said she felt that way down to her core, and more after having a child, and no, she'd never want anything to do with me. She said she had one sibling, only one, and I could never replace him even though Dad tried his best to do it. All I could see was someone who was still in so much pain. My dad bitched about her not coming to Christmas with our wider family and for not introducing her child to everyone. He bitched when he found out my grandparents met the baby and some of my aunts and uncles too. He got so mad at her for not bringing her to meet him, Mom and me. He said the baby has grandparents and an aunt who'd love to meet them, and she's being so stubborn. One of the times he brought it, he asked me why I never seemed to care. He said I have a niece or a nephew I haven't met and might never meet, and I don't seem to really care. He said our family is being denied. I told my dad I knew I'd never meet her kids. I knew she'd never be a part of our family like that. I told him she has been saying over and over how she hates us. how Mom and I are replacements for her mom and brother, and how she blames him for doing it. I told him he failed her when he didn't get her help like his family thought he should, and he failed when he got married even after her breakdown at the wedding. I said he had a little kid who lost her mom and brother and survived when they didn't, and that was awful. I said he should have helped her more before bringing anyone else into it, and he pushed her away by moving forward in everything before she could move past stage 1 of raw grief. And I said he failed me by bringing me into this, and then doing nothing to protect me from the fact my living sibling hated me. I told him he was grieving too and all. But she was a kid back then. And I've been a kid all this time, and we needed him, but he didn't do a good job. He got mad at me and said I understand nothing, and he said I was disrespecting my half-brother by mentioning my name like it's a problem in any of this. Ida?